It's spooky season and we haven't had a good thread to swap personal spooks in a while. Let's fix that. To get the ball rolling, I'll share some OC. So I work a couple of jobs right now, and one of them is at a deli, where I work alongside a 50-year-old Chinese woman, just me and her. She told me this story once during a late shift. Let's call her Rachel. 30 years ago. Hong Kong. Rachel works with her sister in a warehouse. Long, grueling hours. Her sister's husband, Daniel, has some white-collar job. He works long hours too. The three of them live together BC of work. They rarely have an opportunity to spend time together, but one day, Rachel's home from work early. Her sister's still at the warehouse and Daniel's supposed to be at the office, but as Rachel is doing dishes, she gets a spooky feeling and turns around, sees Daniel walking out of the kitchen. She never even heard him enter. And he never said hi, which is uncharacteristic of him. She calls out to him. Daniel ignores her, turns a corner, and disappears from view. Rachel dries her hands and follows and sees Daniel is now far down the hallway. She calls again and Daniel continues walking, turns and enters his bedroom. The whole time Rachel only sees him from behind. Rachel is now annoyed and she rushes into his room to ask him what the hell his problem is, but the room is empty. He searches, thinking he's messing with her, but there's no one there. She searches the rest of the house, but she's alone. Later she tells her sister what she saw. Sister has seen it too. They decide not to tell. Daniel occasionally see the double disappearing into some room. Just ignore it. Rachel explained to me, in very broken English, that this sort of thing was considered bad luck to talk about, but it had happened so long ago she didn't care anymore. Winter 1991. 4 years old, lived in a rural area in New England. Mostly forest. Snowstorm blows in, knocks out power. My father goes out to set up the generator. Says it'll be some time before we get heat. My mother put me on a pull-along sled and started walking towards the neighbor's house in the middle of the blizzard. Since we had no heat, neighbor has a wood stove. He's 1/3 miles down the road. It's pitch black outside except for the faint glow from my mother's flashlight as we start on the curve. We heard this terrifying sound. Something roared in the woods and it echoed for a few seconds. I had never and still have never heard anything quite like it. It sounded like a bear roaring, but was deeper in pitch, louder, and longer than any bear, deer, or moose I have ever heard. Too deep to be a bobcat or mountain lion. My mother stopped dead in her tracks, screamed, picked me up out of the sled, and ran back to our house as fast as she could. She told my father to get inside. He grabbed his rifle and waited by the door. We heard the noise again, and it sounded like it was in our yard. Nothing after that. I got zero sleep. When the sun came out, we went outside to see how much the blizzard left behind and to recover the sled. As we were walking along the road, something stood out in the otherwise white landscape. 2 bucks were split in half and their innards torn out everywhere. My parents spun me around so I couldn't see. To this day we have no idea what the hell happened or what the creature was. Our neighbor heard the roar too. At this same job, I happened to befriend a different woman who works the morning shifts, Janet. She works 2 jobs as well, and she told me flat out that her other job, a fast food place, is known to be haunted. People see and hear stuff all the time, including phantom sneezes/coughs, someone sighing deeply, the sound of quick footsteps moving around the back of the kitchen. Janet was especially descriptive about the footsteps. She said they sounded urgent, and sometimes made that squeaking sound that you hear on basketball courts. She also explained that several years back, one of the cooks had actually offed himself. Apparently he found out that his wife had been sleeping with his coworker, went out and killed himself going 100 miles an hour on the freeway. Now he seems to haunt the place, which is one hell of a fucking afterlife after that terrible tragedy if you ask me. Anyway, that's just a little background for this particular story. At Janet's other job, people alternate closing. Whoever is closing has to stay an extra 30 minutes. And they are there entirely alone. The last thing you do is turn off the lights. This is the worst part of the gig because you can hear footsteps follow you out as you leave. Anyway, on one particular night, Janet is walking out of the office, Ready to leave. When she spots a figure in the kitchen, looks like someone walked behind the oven. Someone in a work uniform, but she knows that she's alone, and the place is locked, so nobody could have gotten in. Nervous, she checks everything, but nobody is there. Spoop at she rushes to shut off the lights, hurries out the door, the footsteps follow her out the whole way. That's it. I found those interesting. Maybe someone else will too. Be me. 3 years old, September. I only remember this since it was my first day of school. The next day, lying in my bed. Pretty big bed for my age, but it was an old one from my bro. Orange light from street light slightly coming in through windowsill, too spooky. But mostly still awake due to excitement for first day of school. Time is who fucking knows when, just that everyone else was asleep. I think this is where the story gets hard to tell. Not because of something traumatic, but because I literally can barely describe this thing. Something shadowy in substance, like something you would find in a fantasy setting. Almost looked like a stereotypical Grim Reaper bullshit costume. Had a hood-like thing above its head, but no reaper or sickle or weapon comes into view from the light. If it wasn't for that street light, I would never have seen it. I stay still. Can feel my fingers tensing. Ready to pull my blanket up over my head to make it go away because toddler logic, chest tightening and loosening. Shivering like I just got out of an icy lake. It stays at the foot of my bed, then moves slowly up to me, almost like it wants a better look at my face. We meet each other face to nothing, since it has no eyes, mouth, etc. Just a void, like it's from some shitty 2012 creepypasta. Look up the FF7 void face, most accurate representation I can give. It stops looking at me, returns to its spot at the foot of my bed, lowers its head, then disappears. Was raised in a very Christian household. Nothing from any Christian source I can think of describes any sort of demon / angel / whatever like this. It wasn't a sleep paralysis demon either. I've been able to sleep peacefully and deeply basically all my life. Never have had this dream again. I have never felt that fear again. I can only hope that whatever that thing is, it doesn't come back. One of mine was when I was house sitting an old farmhouse for a family member and was staying there alone a few days. In the bedroom, there was a long staircase that lead up to the attic, but you couldn't see up the steps if you were on the bed because it was separated by a wall that the bed was next to. So you could just only see part of the bottom step poking around the wall. One night I just happened to wake up in the middle of the night for no apparent reason, and I was laying on my back. Literally within like a minute of being awake and laying there, the fucking attic stairway light turns on by itself. So suddenly I can see the light coming down from the stairs and shining against the far wall of the bedroom. I just sat there frozen in disbelief, kind of expecting to hear something or someone, but there was just total silence. I reached around the bed and pulled out my phone to start recording the light, and I sat there for a few minutes recording it just in case it turned itself back off. I also checked the time and it was around 3:20 a.m., which was a really unusual time for me to randomly wake up. The light just stayed on, so I had to get up and go up the steps to turn it off. Every year for my birthday since I turned 27, I decided to venture out to haunted locations around California. Background: I'm a really big skeptic, always think there's some logical explanation to things. Last year for my B-Day I went to Calico, California, which is a ghost town that had like a silver mine back in the day. If you've ever been to Knott's Berry Farm, Calico is based on a section of the park. Anyways, we did the mine tour at night, which was really cool. The best part of the tour is when the tour guide moves down towards the entrance and asked our group to walk over back without any light on. That was awesome. We also did the town tour. The paranormal stuff happened here, where I believe it was like a main building where apparently the ghost doesn't like men around the area. Me and my cousin stepped away from the tour group towards the side, and my cousin took a picture of me standing on the porch of the building. Lo and behold, we heard 2 or 3 distinct, heavy footsteps walking towards me. Again, could just be creaks from how old the porch is, etc., but that was neat. The last thing before we left is we think we captured the picture of a kid. It could be a case of pareidolia, but I don't know. What do you guys think? Be me Southeast Asian work at McDonald's in my town for a while, night shift in time, notice the regulars eating on a nightly basis, notice a regular muscular dude has a well-kept beard and mustache, has slight Indian looks, not unusual since there's international students in the uni in my town only. Thing is, he doesn't look like a student, dresses a suit every time he goes to order like a real well-kept suit. Town isn't that big and there's no such thing as big office skyscrapers or buildings that has that kind of attire. Notice he always order the exact same order for the last 4 months, one piece of chicken with rice and a chicken sandwich, plus one large Coke float with the one with ice cream sundae on the Coke drink. McDonald's menu is different in my country. Always just stare at one direction and never blinking, eats like a statue or a goddamn Agent 47 kind of atmosphere. After eating just stands up for 30 seconds and looks at the whole McDonald's and then leaves, just walks, no car, didn't take any bus, can't follow him cause I got my shift. Fast forward to another 3 months, usual routine. One day he goes to McDonald's all ragged like he's a homeless person, like dirty clothes straight out from a mechanic fixing a car, hair too long like off the shoulders. Note that he always had short well kept hair all this time up to this point, didn't even know how he got his hair too long in the span of one night cause previous night he was the same, he orders the exact same food, same manners. What he looked is the only difference. Tonight after eating he does the same routine to look at whole McDonald's, then suddenly looks at me for more than a minute. Noticed his eyes looks weird. Can't explain it, but it's that uncanny valley feeling. Leaves the McDonald's, never see him again. Start some small talk to my co-worker that's always with me since I got the job, says he didn't notice him too much, never see him again. Tried to search on any accidents that might happen and might be related, nothing. Dude never went back to McDonald's ever again. Did I notice an NPC? Be me 2020 COVID lockdown, didn't give a shit and went to my friend's house, sort of a mini reunion. Friend ask if we can go fishing in their boat again, just like old times, invite more longtime friends. Our town has a bay area accessible by the river, used to do this with their parents to go fishing near the bay and have some fun during our teens. Our friends decide to do that again. Other friends are experienced fishermen, they grew up poor at the town and taught fishing by their parents to make a living. Me and my other one friend are the only ones that didn't really know how to set up their boats. Go near the bay, kinda happy with the mini reunion, didn't catch much but we got our fair share to go home with and cook while in the lockdown. Suddenly notice something big surfacing in the horizon, like more than 1,000 meters in. Thought it's gonna be my first cryptid moment. It isn't a cryptid, it's a whole submarine. Friends start to notice too and was mesmerized by it. Thought to myself, that ain't right, we don't even have a sub in my country, whose sub is this? After a few minutes notice it submerging again into the water, gone in a matter of minutes. Stayed there for an hour talking about what we saw and hoping it resurfaces again, never resurfaces again. Went back home and cooked our catch and shot the shit. Kept searching if there's any joint operation exercises or anything related in the Navy in my country. None. Bay Area is really big but secluded, like you have to enter an entrance to enter the bay. Realize our country's Navy isn't that capable enough, but it sure as hell can detect submarines within the vicinity. Bay Area's big and the country's capital is literally beside it on the other side. It's been 3 years but I'm still wondering what was that sub doing deep in our country's territory. I've got one. This happened to me back in 2014, at a hotel/apartment complex in Alabama when I was 17. I was feeling kinda lonely, so I went on Omegle to find people to chat with. Ended up meeting this chick on there and we got along, so she gave me her name on Kik and we continued chatting over there. Her name was Kat if I remember correctly. After talking for a few days she eventually tells me that she has ghosts and negative spirits around her. Initially I was thinking she was just trying to be edgy, because she was gothic and into spooky stuff. Until she started sending me videos. In her videos you could see shadow people darting around her house, manifesting a couple of feet in front of her camera, crazy shit like that. Kinda creeped out and told her as much, telling her I hope they go away and stuff like that. That night after she sent me those videos, I started hear something crinkling the plastic shower curtain in the bathroom. Started out lightly so didn't think too much of it at first, but it would progressively get louder and faster over the course of a few minutes, until it would just stop. Be quiet for an hour or two, then start back up again. Got pretty intense at times. I also would get a really strong feeling of being watched all night. I had been there for about a week before I started talking to her, and never heard that happen at night until she sent me those videos. Pretty freaked out at this point, but continued to talk to her. And over the next couple of days as I stayed in contact with her, it would keep happening at night. Then after like 4 or 5 days I was just too freaked out, thinking this is happening because of all the shit attached to her, is now attached to me. I broke off contact with her, deleted Kik, and never went back. When I did, the noises at night and feeling of being watched stopped immediately. I kind of wished I saved the videos she sent. But I'm also kind of glad I didn't. I don't know if weird stuff would continue if I did. I've shared this one several times, and nobody ever seems to care, but I like this story. The girl who shared it with me told the entire thing in such a nonchalant manner, like it was utterly normal lol. She said it was her only experience like this, but that she thought it was normal at the time. Her name is Anna. Anna is a child. Only about 7 or so after parents' divorce. She and mom move into a house by themselves almost immediately. Weird stuff starts to happen, seeing shadows, hearing strange sounds. Nothing major until Anna is taking a nap one day in her mother's bed, but she wakes up and finds that the bed is moving. She cries for her mother, who comes into the room and finds the bed shaking violently, lifts Anna off the bed, and the two leave the house. Call Anna's mom's sister, who says she can stay with them after that. Anna saw the Hatman a few times. This is especially striking because when she actually told me this, she didn't actually appear to know about the Hatman. She didn't even use that term. But she described it as a tall black shadow that looked like a man wearing a big sombrero. The Hatman would appear randomly. Usually he would be at a window looking into the house. Anna once looked out a window and saw the Hatman standing across the street watching the house. Her mother saw it several times too. The experiences culminated in Anna seeing the Hatman on the landing to the second story. She approached him, and then felt the shadow pull her and shove her down the stairs. Her mother happened to be ascending at that moment and witnessed the entire thing. Caught Anna as she fell. The two ran out of the house and it was decided they'd move out. The Hatman followed them across several houses apparently, but never did anything like that again. Hey, race a story not around me, but granddad be granddad. Mid-1980s or so, be friends with some local Freemasons. These Freemasons had some sort of rings they earned. Something Freemason stupid shit, I don't know. Granddad is Catholic. Refuses to wear any of the rings. Friends egg him on. Bet him that nothing is gonna happen. Put $20 on the line. Granddad caves. Puts it on. Has to wear it for at least 1 day or so to show that there's nothing to fear. Puts it on. Leaves for home. On the way home in the station wagon, his stomach is feeling like it's completely gone from his nerves. Still keeps the ring on. About 10 minutes away from home he sees a storm brewing. Pedalto Themidal.mp4 storm stays with him. Lightning hits the trees by the road. Country road, so they're a dime a dozen. Pull into driveway. Jump out of the car and throw the ring off onto the road. Storm's gone. Paranormal Roflowcopter.png swore that the ring was to blame until his death. Did not like the story being brought up. Either was nervous or embarrassed about it. Ring is returned to the friend. They never believe him about the storm, but they don't make him cough up the 20. He never associates with anything directly Freemason again, even though it was returned. Wish I could have seen / wore it to see if I would get spooked. Would have been neat. B16 downloading porn off LimeWire. Watch porn vid has that story of a girl song. This is just on the off chance this is a real video anyone has heard of, to jog their memory, and God, I hope it does. It's a compilation. As the video continued, the actors look more and more diseased. Eventually a woman's vagina grows to encompass her entire ass. At that point I noped the fuck out of LimeWire. If it was a message from God, I didn't heed it as I became porn addicted a few years later. One more story before work gets busy. This one comes from a pal who worked at a munitions facility. The place was apparently haunted, and he shared his most intense experience with me. To get started, let pull directly from my notes. Yes. I have notes. And quote some of what this guy actually said. I've seen disembodied legs walking around the facility, heard all sorts of noises, seen full shadow people in my direct line of sight. These shadows seem to absorb surrounding light like a black hole. With that said, here's his story, as he told it to me. Starting from the beginning. So I was working at a munitions facility for the government. Lots of people have died there. If you worked there and didn't have a sighting of some sort, then you were the odd one out. One night me and my work friend were upstairs loading the propellant extruder with a billet of powder. We usually have it timed to AT so that we're both finished and walking out of the charging bay at the same time. Friend cleans the ring off while I drop the billet in. Easy money. But then we both turn at the same time to look behind us and find a man standing there wearing a white set of coveralls. His face looked sunken in. Just as soon as he was there, he was gone. The actual sight of him left me feeling almost sick. I looked at my friend and he looked sick too. We both actually wasted a few charging cycles recovering from this. I felt like someone had punched me in the gut. Finally, we both went to clean up and quit for the night. Decided we'd tell the supervisor what happened since we had to explain our production numbers. The super had been there for 30 years. When I described the guy we had seen, he told us he knew that guy. He'd died in an accident in Bay 3 about 17 or 18 years before. I asked this buddy of mine if he could give the name of the company. He said it used to be called Hercules, but it's since changed hands a few times and has a different name now. This one's not particularly spooky or long, but something that has stuck with me since my childhood. Not a great writer either, but thought I'd contrive. Be me. 4 years old or something. 2002-ish. Live in big Queenslander style house. Raised on stilts. With 5 bedrooms. In a nice neighborhood. Used to share a room with my little brother. And had just moved into a new bedroom on my own every couple of nights. A while after my mum had put me to bed, I would see a silhouette of a man in my doorway, barely visible, but massive man. Basically as tall as the door frame and nearly as wide. Thought it was my dad at first, but it was way too big to be him. Couldn't move, blink, or look away. Could have been nerves, but I was frozen. The man never moved either. Sometimes he would be there for what felt like hours. Never saw him walk up and never saw him leave. Just stood there, frozen, staring at me. Few weeks of this go by and my house was robbed. Never see man again. This all could have easily been my overactive imagination, but thinking back, I wonder if this man was living in our house somewhere. It would have been hard to break into quietly, and I don't know why someone would case a house so many times just to rob some jewelry. First, it was at night before falling asleep. I was talking to my girlfriend. I turned and saw him standing at the side of the bed, facing towards me. The second time was yesterday in the middle of the day. It was daylight, although the curtains were drawn. I walked into the living room. My girlfriend was napping on the couch and the figure was standing with its back to the window, facing towards the opposite wall. I promptly looked away. When I looked back, he'd disappeared. I'm pretty sure it's the same figure, but I didn't get a good look. I'm pretty spooked. Does anyone have any ideas what this could be, and, if so, what I could do to get rid of it? Hang around this place to smoke weed? Pick related for ease. It's quite secluded, about 40 feet from the main road and footpath. Meet friend there every morning before we go to college. In the autumn and winter we get access to this small one-room building. In red. Other than that we'll sit on the path or grass. Gray and green. To get to the building you have to go through 3 massive padlocked gates or climb a spiked fence that's about 10 feet high. We climb the fence because no padlock key. Sometimes we'll hang around outside of the building, still climbing the fence, because it's more secluded than the grass and path at the back of it is piss lane. Yellow. Where everyone who needs a piss takes a piss. Go there one morning with friend, have bong hidden just inside piss lane. I'm not getting high before college, so I wait on the outside of the fence. He climbs over and gets bong, sits outside of building, says he's going to take a piss first, goes back to piss lane, comes back minute late looking a bit confused, looks back up piss lane, sprints to fence and climbs over it. Ask him what he's doing, says there's a man there, tell him to get fucked. Man, dressed like a legit businessman with a briefcase and everything. In his 50s comes around the corner looking just as confused as friend opens his mouth like he's going to say something doesn't walks back into piss lane wait a couple of minutes nothing happening both climb fence to take a look he's not there but the back of the building is solid brick and the spiked fence encompasses piss lane there's nowhere to go and it's just a straight path about 10 feet long and 3 feet wide friend didn't see him when he got the bong or had a piss which it would be impossible to miss if someone was there unlikely someone like that is going to climb a fence when there's no reason to never explain how he got in, where he even came from, or where the fuck he went he's a spooky place brothers. A few on the job deaths, heart attacks etc. One murder brand new machinery and equipment breaks without reason nothing ever works right for the duration of its life everyone who's worked nights knows the safe nights airy when the animals are around. Deer, skunks, raccoons, anything. They're not around when the spooks are motherfucking motion sensor lights in some halls. They turn on their own. In order. Like someone's walking through even though it's abandoned at night aside from 2 night shifters founder of facility comes around. Everyone knows his face and he's included in the annual safety PowerPoint like a workplace meme find his wet shoe prints occasionally. We have constant wet spots in basement, murdered woman is very peaceful when she's around random ice spots in basement, which is huge, half the facility, they will literally come stand on you and make you freeze even in summer. Like. You move a few inches over and you're warm again until they step in you again more active in winter one picked up my pen. Followed me, and dropped it at my feet once one/more seemed aggressive but they fucked off when L got aggressive back sourceless whistling in the basement and other building 7 after hours when no one's around. It's a meme even among the day shift. Man, dressed like a legit businessman with a briefcase and everything, in his 50s comes around the corner looking just as confused as friend opens his mouth like he's going to say something doesn't walks back into piss lane this sounds like a time slip to me. Dude went back when he came from. Sorry about the fucked up line breaks. There's a night shift guy who talks to them. Was the first who told me to say hi to. Founder when motion sensor lights started clicking on outside the office one night my stupid ass just looking out the window thinking I missed whoever walked by he even formally introduced me later like this is Anon, he's very nice, he's going to be working here and I'm like. He's having a conversation with himself? Aside from the whistling there is whispering occasionally in certain areas. Can never quite make out what's being said they seem to like music river around back was a dump point for bodies for the local mob. Old guys who grew up here found bodies all the time as kids I still see mob guys meeting on the other side of the fence sometime at dusk. They always glare at me for seeing them but they're on my workplace property. I'm just minding my own business at off-site woods location once saw what L described to co-workers as a large coyote with mange. We don't have wolves. But L think it was a hellhound because it was huge and had the wrong build. LVE seen coyotes before and this wasn't one drove down a well-known haunted road. One didn't know, and had a phantom truck riding my ass until L reached another car also riding all this at 2 a.m. machine com failure run across facility plug is out this is not just a plug, these things screw in founder unscrewed plug to fuck with me. Guess he doesn't like me writing about him. Fuck you, go to sleep. Boss is talking about hijinks from when he was a kid. Stoner co-worker 2 moves from childhood memories to workplace events such as dead workers found here stops mid-thought to just say when the animals are around. You know it's safe. Stoner concurs I came to the same conclusion 2 years ago they're normies so WTF have they seen that caused them to notice founder's ghost ancient facility. Creepy underground tunnels been here a few years. Start picking up nights last summer start noticing my fight or flight response is triggered in certain room. Then spreads to a tunnel never anyone there. JPG start dreading nights BC what I must assume is a ghost is giving me aggressive vibes when I'm trapped in the room with him department training a few months down the line PowerPoint slideshow here is a pic of founder.jpg and founder2.jpg JFC founder2. Is the one giving me heebie-jeebies. Can tell just from seeing his pic bunch of co-workers start laughing suddenly. I guess they've met him too. Next time he shows up, hell no, I know who you are, I want to run this place someday and I want your blessing. Perplexed vibes. Just leaves instead of haunting me, comes back next night. Unaggressive for once. Try talking to him, motherfucker picks up my metal pen. Carries it several feet, drops it behind me on the concrete, crazy loud noise, heart attack. He scraped my fucking nice pen, yell at him not to damage my things. That's really it for the founder, he likes to fuck with me like with the pen, but he's not really aggressive anymore. Aside from that, he occasionally taps / clangs the pipes. We have motion sensor lights everywhere too, so when he's wandering the halls he turns them on. He did jump scare me not long ago, but I don't think he meant to. When I was about 11 or 12 I was tossing and turning trying to fall asleep. I heard in the distance my name being called. I ignored it and convinced myself it was my imagination. A few seconds later I heard / felt whatever was calling my name scream into my ear, Frank. I freaked the fuck out and called for my parents. They calmed me down and told me to go sleep with my older sister. Still very shook up and crying, my sister was attempting to calm me down. I started to wind down after saying a few Hail Marys until I then heard my name being called again. This time my sister heard it as well. We were both beyond spooked and just kept the light on for the rest of the night. I wasn't able to sleep alone for months after this traumatizing experience and still think about it pretty frequently in my adult life. Who the fuck knows what was calling me, and thank God I did not answer. I've posted this a few times before. Early 2022, living in southern Maryland, wife and 6-month-old son visiting her family in Texas, alone with the dog for a week. Have a nightmare one night where I'm in my backyard approached by a ghost. Young. Spectral woman. In between the shed and the deck, try to run back inside. Can't open the door. She gets closer. Etc. My dog wakes me up. I figure she has to go outside. It's about 2 a.m. As we're walking downstairs to the backyard. Think about how realistic the backyard was in my dream. Usually things are misplaced / misrepresented in dreams. But the backyard in that nightmare was true to life. Open door. Go outside with dog. Dog runs to the spot where the ghost appeared in the dream and growls at the spot. Stand there confused for a moment and let her growl. Decide it's best to go back inside. We go back upstairs and go to sleep. Only paranormal type experience I've ever had. I don't really believe in cryptids or ghosts or anything, although I do like to read about them, but I'm convinced my dog was protecting me from some malevolent energy. Florida and on here. Had many strange experiences in my life. I get told I attract these sorts of things, but I digress. I'm bored, so here's the story. My friends and I haven't been able to forget for the past year. Be in Apalachicola National Forest in January for a camping trip with my brother. Technically not supposed to be there because it's hunting season and we're prim campers, not staying in one of the designated hunter campsites, but whatever, do it anyway. We keep thinking we see brief flashes of blue light in woods on and off, try to ignore it, just our minds playing tricks on us, etc. Third day, friend and his GF join us. They bring mushrooms. Now the real party begins. Cut to night. Everyone takes a small dose of mushrooms. 2 g per person. Friend throws up after taking only half a gram. Stays sober. Fast forward, we're all decently high but still lucid, sitting by the fire. Friend's GF crawls out of their tent, looks off in the distance. What's that light off in the woods? There's some planes visible, so I tell her she's probably just tripping. Brother gets up from his hammock. I see it too. WTF. Look where they're looking but don't see anything. Just chalk it up to them being new to shrooms. Go back to staring into the fire. BC primal monkey brain. Friend who, reminder, is sober, stands up and peers into the darkness in front of me. Holy shit, there really is a light out there. What, get up? Sure as shit. There's a blue ball of light floating between the trees and circling our camp. Forest is dead quiet. It's so bright it's illuminating trees around it. Slightly irregular flight pattern. Floats like you'd imagine a fairy would. Wavering in the air, not even close to firefly season, not to mention it's /blue / an orb / we watch it for a few minutes, seems like it's getting closer. Brother lights up his emergency cigar, Wafts the smoke, old native trick for spirits, I say a prayer. Light vanishes for a good 20 minutes. Light reappears. Then wavers in place for a bit near our camp and floats off, disappearing into the trees. Freaked out. Stay up all night. Month or two later / now / it's about firefly season. Friend calls me up for an impromptu camp out in Ocala. NF uneventful day other than the ticks. Oh god, the ticks. Night, maybe around 2 to 3. Have a few shitty bottles, margaritas and bullshit by the fire. Conversation slows down since we're both tired and owl hoots. Then friend says, yo, what's up? I see the light again. Or joking look around, tons of them. Smaller than the last one. But all blue orbs of light literally / surrounding / our campsite. Had to be about 50. They are literally nowhere else in the forest except near us. Friend and I shit bricks for a moment. Catch a close up of one, not fireflies, an actual floating ball of blue fire the size of a golf ball. Weird feeling. They're non-threatening. Like they're protecting us just to be sure we're not crazy. Light up a cigar and pray to see if it does anything. I shit you not. All of them instantly blink out of existence until I put out the cigar. Afterward they just kind of float around and then slowly leave one by one. Rest oddly peacefully the rest of the night. Not really super spooky, but paranormal and strange nonetheless. I have scarier ones, but this is the most recent / encounter / I've had, so I thought I'd share it. No idea what they are, but if anyone has any insight I'd be very interested. This Friday make Black Mirror. It's too bright outside. My room doesn't get dark enough. Go visit friends. Smoke a shit ton of pot and stay awake to the point I am sleep deprived. Now is the perfect time to go scrying. LMAO. Sit in front of the mirror and light the candle. Look into that shit. Oh hey. That looks like a giant mega wide face right behind me. It even had 2 light spots that looked like eyes where the candle got reflected by something. One eye closes. Tilt and move head to make the reflection reappear. It doesn't. The face becoming more distinct. That's when I turned on the light and covered the scrying mirror and went to bed. I don't know what the hell winked at me, but it was scary. LE ghost hunting event at the local library. Organizers pass out EMP meters. Hang out near the back of the group watching my meter focus on projecting the feeling of hey, I'm kinda nervous around all these people. So if you're nervous too, you can come hang out next to me. Meter starts to hover around high yellows. Keep that to myself. Session concludes and group moves to other side of library. Get comfy over there. Set out the meter and focus on projecting that same feeling of safe harbor. Meter goes to deep red and stays there nearly 2 minutes. Somebody finally notices and says, hey, his meter is really lighting up over there. And all eyes are on me. Stage fright. Mov. Feel whatever ability to project a feeling immediately clam up. Meter goes all the way down and never spikes again. Be my mother. Early teens. Late 1970s. Dream of walking down a riverbank. See 2 people fishing on the other side of the river. One nudges the other and they both watch you stroll along. Wake up and walk down to the kitchen. Sisters are eating breakfast and looking at you funny. Finally ask if you left the house last night because they saw somebody that looked like you walking on the opposite bank while they were out fishing. Anyone here has experienced anything similar? Every once in a while I'd wake up in the middle of the night feeling like my position on the bed was shifted. I'm not exactly sure how, but my body would just tell me that I had changed position on the bed. Or rather, the bed changed positions, e.g., I wake up feeling like I made a full 180 shift on the bed, my head being where my foot was originally at, etc. Usually the moment I open my eyes, I see and feel myself back in the correct position. But sometimes, I would get this very strong irrational fear of opening my eyes. And the 2 times when I did get the guts to open my eyes at this time, 1st time was indeed rotated 180 on the bed. Curtain drapes wide open. I usually close them, literal person standing between me and window, didn't see so clearly and somehow just feel back to sleep. Point 2 ND time, was rotated 90 degrees on the bed, opened eyes to face the wall, clearly seeing a demonic face staring right at me, probably womanish cause of the long hair. Pussied out and did the classic close your eyes and hide under the blanket, somehow fell asleep after that. I haven't dared to open my eyes since. Of the 2, the second one felt way more real, and I remember how scared I was then. I thought they could possibly just be nightmares that I mistook for reality, but it's a weird experience that sometimes returns. Every once in a while I'd wake up in the middle of the night feeling like my position on the bed was shifted. I'm not exactly sure how, but my body would just tell me that I had changed position on the bed. Or rather, the bed changed positions, e.g., I wake up feeling like I made a full 180 shift on the bed, my head being where my foot was originally at, etc. Usually the moment I open my eyes, I see and feel myself back in the correct position. But sometimes, I would get this very strong irrational fear of opening my eyes. And the 2 times when I did get the guts to open my eyes at this time 1st time, was indeed rotated 180 on the bed. Curtain drapes wide open. I usually close them, literal person standing between me and window, didn't see so clearly and somehow just feel back to sleep. Point 2 ND time, was rotated 90 degrees on the bed, opened eyes to face the wall, clearly seeing a demonic face staring right at me, probably womanish cause of the long hair. Pussied out and did the classic close your eyes and hide under the blanket, somehow fell asleep after that. I haven't dared to open my eyes since. Of the 2, the second one felt way more real, and I remember how scared I was then. I thought they could possibly just be nightmares that I mistook for reality, but it's a weird experience that sometimes returns. Greater than 15 go to grandmother's one day to do some gardening. On the way see this old woman in her 80s trying to cut ivy above her front door with garden shears, can't reach and can barely hold the shears. Tell her if she can hold on a couple of hours I'll do it for her. On the way back suspicious and I don't have the most welcoming face, asks me if my dad's called Billy. He is not surprised she knew because me and him really look alike, and complete strangers who know him have stopped me in the street to ask if he's my dad. Once I confirm it she seems much more comfortable and accepts my offer. Go back. Couple of hours later, only takes about 10 minutes to do everything. Let her know I'm finished and I'm heading home, but she's made me a cup of tea. British people love tea. Explain my parents are waiting for me and I have to get back. It's only a quick cup of tea. Feel sorry for her because maybe she has no company except on the condition I can call my parents and let them know I'm going to be late. She agrees but insists she call them because she hasn't spoke to my mum for ages and I can drink my tea. Seems fair. Give her the number. She makes the call and starts conversation with my mum sitting in living room waiting for tea to cool. Glance around like you do in new places. Phone is on a little table just outside living room opposite where I am. Notice something. Excuse me, who you talking to? Phone doesn't even have a wire on it to plug in anywhere. Gives me the most menacing look and hangs up. Fuck this. Barge my way out while she keeps apologizing and telling me I haven't finished my tea. Nah, fuck that. Get home, tell parents about it. Dad asks if she's called Doris. She is. Turns out she poisoned her parents and brother, didn't die, and was in some nut place for years. Had a real vendetta against my dad because my dad beat her son up when they were like 8. Who knows what was in that tea, brothers? Be me. 11 Yo. Summer visit grandparents in Oregon. Go on hunting/camping trip with dad and granddad in a woods. MP4 typical camping trip for the first 2 days. On third day while walking looking for animals get feeling of being watched. That night we do the usual build fire, grill sausages on fire, eat and chat for a bit. Still feel like I'm being watched but don't mention it. After some time we decide to go to bed. We have 2 tents, one with me and dad and one with grandpa. After some time get waken up to sound of grandpa calling my name. Don't wake up dad for some reason. Get flashlight and go out. Don't know how much time I had slept but the fire was completely out with no embers. Walk in direction of grandfather's voice while calling him. After a few minutes of walking my grandpa and dad come up behind me asking why I'm calling for grandpa. Tell them I heard grandpa calling for me. They tell me they were both asleep. What? PNG. While walking back we all hear my granddad's voice from behind us call my name. Now we're very spooked because grandpa was walking in front of us. We quickly walk to the campsite after that and pack up to leave. Still hear grandpa's voice while packing and walking to the car we drive. Back to my grandparent house during the drive. Dad and grandpa are both silent. The sun is rising when we reach. We go to bed. Ask my granddad about it after waking up and he tells me it's best not to bring it up. Can tell by his voice he's serious. It's been 15 years since the granddad died 4 years ago. The dead woman facility is not just old. Profile murder in broad daylight about 15 years ago. All over the news. BC of our prestige police can't figure out who did it. An accident. Strange. The ghost that haunts this place is a man and not the murdered woman. Have been paying attention to footprints left in the tunnels since noticing founders' footprints. Old cracks and leaks in tunnels equals constant unavoidable puddles/streams. Founder wears gentlemanly 2-part smooth sole dress shoes common to his era, size between my shoe size and co-workers until one night too fresh, short steps leading out of a puddle/stream, simply end right there. Small but long, way narrower, smooth 1-part sole. Me and other co-worker wear safety boots. Big, wide, grippy teeth patterns on underside. This is a woman's slipper/flat. No women have been here in 8+ hours. And they all wear safety boots too. Stare at it. Compare my boot steps it takes my boots to dry out from that level of saturation. Action splashes from forward movement, she has none. Like she just plopped her feet down vertically. She hasn't walked through any of the other unavoidable puddles before that point. Just 2 prints in the middle of a wet room. No entry or exit path. Stare longer. Burning the proof she's there into my memory. Decide not to take a pic to show others. BC don't want to anger her later that night. Major machinery failure. Pretty sure she knew something was wrong and was trying to fix it. Don't run into her often but she has a peaceful vibe. Talking to someone who stayed late after hours. Just chatting in the hallway. Something catches my attention across hall on other side of stairwell. Just an old man. About my height. Black hoodie and sweatpants. Watching us talk with a grave expression. Can't help smiling. BC I know the person I'm talking to has no idea. Stays there almost a minute. Can tell co-worker is getting confused because I'm distracted by nothing. Can tell the old man is kind of like someone sees me, but still looks serious. Try to wrap up conversation so I can try to talk to him. He disappears as the co-worker turns to leave. Pretty sure he's a guy that dropped on the job from a heart attack. He wasn't found for a few hours and when someone finally found him they accused him of sleeping, on the floor, on the job and walked away instead of calling for help. Lynching, but typical for my company. Christmas time 24/7 operation. Someone always has to be here. I'm today's sucker again. Just me and a co-worker. Co-worker is out patrolling the facility in another building. Board.jpg. Might as well go analyze data in the next room. Crunching numbers. 5. 10 minutes go by. Hear someone talking. Co-worker must be back. Keep working. Hear laughter. Raising and lowering volume. Someone's having a damn good time. WTF, he never sounds that happy. Realize one section of motion lights never flicked on when he must have passed by. Get that uh-oh feeling because it's not the first time. Start walking down hallway following voices. All the lights are on. Around and in the break room. Can distinctly hear 3+ voices laughing and talking. It sounds like a whole party. I'm moving so slow. I kind of understand how horror movie characters feel now. Approach the room window. Can hear them. They're not more than 5 away. Peer in. Not sure what I'm expecting. Room empty. All the lights on. The instant I look, all noise and voices stop. Just standing in the hall in dead silence alone. Kind of glad I couldn't see anything. Kind of disappointed. Feel like I ruined their Christmas reunion/party. Fucked frame of mind for the rest of the night. Co-worker this shift is in hard denial of everything. Can't even ask if he's experienced similar. Day or 2 before solstice. Shift ends. Out just after dark. Fuck. Forgot to move car closer. Have to walk like 200 across dark empty lot with only one street light. Right over my car like a damn movie. Step off curb into the lot. Loud whistling suddenly starts up from rocky fenced-in cliff along the side of the lot. Look around. No motion detected. Sheer fear hits like I'm in the hell room when the dwellers are angry. Hell no, I don't let bodiless furs intimidate me. Whistler keeps bellowing out cheerful tune across the lot. Pocket knife in hand in case it's a hobo. Keep walking steadily and ignore fear. Whistling is now all around me. Sourceless. Like it's coming from several directions at once. Honestly, a lovely song. Nothing I recognize. Too complicated to memorize. But this bastard literally doesn't need to come up for air either, so any hope it's a human is gone. Oh god, oh fuck, I'm never leaving the building alone again after dark. Why am I walking cautiously? Nothing's moving. It's like I'm trying to drag this out. Eventually make it to car. Lock the doors. Furtively look around lot for any hint of who or what. Can still hear whistling through car. Not sure what I expected but not feeling reassured. RN drive back to building front. Sprint back into punch out. Whistling follows me until I'm through the door. Safe. Chill. Wait around a few minutes to see if coworker will show up so I don't have to go back out alone. Maybe he's witnessed this before he doesn't show up. He's bullshitting with our relief. Fuck it. Venture back out completely silent. No whistling, no movement, no fear in the air. Check car back seat and book it out of there. I've heard disembodied whistling in the hallways on rare occasions, but never like that or outside the buildings. Was tweaked the rest of the week when outside or near the area. Right around spring 2000. I know because I was in bed. Reading the 4th Harry Potter book like a dork. Well past my bedtime. In early middle school my room was at the end of the hall. The door right across from my parents' room with the bathroom door and my brother's just a bit out of sight down the hallway. Maybe 2 a.m. on a school night. I was super determined to finish the chapter I was reading before I fell asleep. But I had that nagging must make pee situation going on. I had a tall standing lamp in my room, but not the click kind or any sort of remote. It had a wired slider that rested on the floor, slidable from full brightness to dim or off. While in the off state it had a little orange light to help you locate it in the dark with your foot. I had the light on near max while I was reading. My parents were in their room for some time, and they didn't mind me staying up late, so I didn't care. That nagging feeling was getting bad and I decided to earmark my page and rush to the restroom, but at the very moment I closed the book in bed my light dimmed about 20%. I waited a moment for it to come back. It did that sort of thing often when the AC kicked on. But it didn't. The curiosity of it kind of struck me. And for just a moment I forgot I had to go. So instead, still in bed, I opened the book up again, and read until the end of the page. The feeling returned. I'd lost concern about the light, and I folded and closed the book again, tossed the covers partially off me. Maybe halfway this time, the light went all the way down to twilight dim, maybe 80%. I was terrified. It'd never done that before and it was not coming back to bright. The slider switch was outside of my reach. Even if I'd stretched off the bed at full length, I wasn't going to reach it, so I didn't try. I just lay there, still mostly under covers, staring at it and scanning the room in shock for what felt like minutes. The adrenaline hit hard and in almost fight or flight response I no longer had to piss. Now in near darkness. Spooked as shit, I remember calling out for mom and dad with no response. And being concerned about my nearby window. Didn't see or hear anything strange. When my heart finally slowed down again I foolishly opened the book once more. And only managed to read like 2 sentences before I absolutely couldn't take it anymore. Light be damned. I was going to get to the bathroom. I closed the book. I threw the covers completely off myself, determined. Rotated my body. And got one toe to hit the floor. Lights fucking out, pitch black. Couldn't even see with the ambient light from the window right next to me before my eyes could adjust to darkness. I rotated myself right back into bed. Covers over face. I did not get up to use the restroom. I did not piss the bed. I have no further memory of what happened. My family have no memory of me calling out to get them. I woke up the next morning completely baffled, terrified, and went to school like nothing happened. Me last September just got back from a trip to Georgia with the GF, staying at GF's parents' place because they're in another country and they wanted us to watch the house. GF has been complaining of stuff moving around. Her dog barking at random corners of the house, etc. GF and I are lying in bed drifting asleep, not really tired, but I close my eyes, prone to hypnagogic imagery and hallucinations, albeit rarely tonight. I'm seeing all sorts of weird shit, like dragons, demons, and really big tropical flowers shifting around like I'm tripping balls. Get a really bad feeling watching it, like a pit forms in my stomach. Stay like that for a while until GF whispers Anon? Yeah? I just had a really scary nightmare. What was it about? There were like demon faces, and dragons. And like flowers. What? JPEG? What the fuck, really? Yeah, GF then stares off toward the closet and says that she feels a presence. I felt it too. But I reassured her it was nothing to make her feel better. GF turns on the light and walks to the bathroom while she's in there. I recite a prayer and basically tell the demon to quite literally get the fuck out. You're not fucking welcome here, etc. As I finish up, I see a faint round ball of light. Not really light but the closest word I can think of to describe it, about the size of a basketball, fly through the wall from one end of the room and then out of the window. GF comes back into the room as I'm sitting there in disbelief. Did you see something, Anon? Nope. Nothing. Let's go back to bed. I sage the house a week later. No demonic bullshit since. Here's the third one too. While I'm at it, be me in 2016 in high school, just moved to a new relatively small town to go to a better school, hanging out with GF of the time and her friend downtown, walk by a restaurant with outdoor seating. GF is rushing me to show me something, feel a hand tug on my shirt, stop, see a woman in her late 20s/early 30s with sunglasses on sitting alone at one of the outdoor tables. Your first name, right? Why yeah, why? First and last name? Pence currently being shit. Wave, how do you? Do I know you? Don't think so. Then how do you? I don't know. GF and her friends start rushing me more. I'm so confused. Lucky guess, she says, forced by GF to walk away and never see the woman again. Couple months later, teacher comes up to me in the halls. Keep in mind, this is my first year in this town. Oh hey. You're that kid who's on the wall in the office meeting room. Huh? Yeah, your first name, right? What? Yeah, but I never got my picture taken. Why would you guys have my picture up? Oh. Must have been mistaken. Walks away without another word. Literally never see her again. Dad is from small Mexican village. A local man is kind of famous for his good crops. People say he has a don and that he can water his crops with his hands. DCIDC. I just know I like the guy because he always gives me and my cousins bits of sugar cane for free when we go over. FFW. I'm about 13 years old now, visiting Mexico on our last day. The guy with the don invites my family over for dinner. We go over. I shake his hand. And he asks us if we want some free sugar cane, tells us we can pick our own mangoes if we want. Yes please. As we're walking out the back door to the man's fields, Dad tells me to watch the man closely. So I do. Keep in mind, the first thing I did when I entered this man's house was shake his hand. They were completely clean. Now I'm watching him a few feet in front of me and I see bits of black stuff start dripping off his hands. His hands go from looking clean to looking like he's been digging around in the dirt. He hasn't touched anything yet. He kneels by one of the chili plants and digs around for a bit, then gets up and dusts off his hands. Dad shows me the chili plant and points to the one next to it. The one the man was touching has fresh black soil round its base. The other plant doesn't. Dad just smiles, but I'm oofing like, how the hell is this real? Look over at the man. He's sprinkling water at one of the plants. I actually see the water flying off his fingers. There's no water anywhere nearby. His hands were totally dry when I shook them. After a while, he cuts down some sugar cane and we go inside, have a nice dinner and leave Mexico. The next day the man passes away before I ever have a chance to return. Cousins tell me the crops still grow good in his fields, but not as good as they used to. MFW. I was 15 in high school, had a final project for algebra with two other friends, a not so bright bimbo and my nerdy friend that was in love with her. Bimbo suggests meeting at her house for the project. Nerd and my arrive. This place is huge. A literal mansion. Something feels off, especially with the kind of furniture they had, all antiques, with a huge porcelain saint greeting you as you open the door. We go into the kitchen to prepare a sandwich. Place is full of porcelain figures, it's mostly farm animals. I distinctly remember a rooster. Around the table there's a glass sliding door that leads to the backyard. We eat something and Nerd and I begin the project, while Bimbo is busy with homework for a subject she's recursing after a while. I'm sitting waiting for Nerd to finish some equations. I look to the backyard and notice something. Bimbo, do you have small kids in here? Says no. I point to the glass door. A small hand is printed onto the crystal. Its size and height from the floor are like those of a 4-year-old. We're weirded out, but continue our homework. About 45 minutes pass and I stand up to take a breather at the backyard. I notice something new. There's now an even smaller hand next to the first one, closer to the floor. Like a baby's. I call my friends. We're all spooked cause that shit def wasn't there before. We get into the mood for spooky stories. Bimbo tells us some weird shit has happened at her house before. Shows us her parents' room. There's the head of a Virgin Mary that looks like it was crying something black. Says that head was used in an exorcism once. We go back down, resume work. I keep looking at the glass door. Eventually Bimbo gets up to have a sum at the backyard. Lets out an audible gasp when she's at the door. We go check on her. Now there are a bunch of marks on the glass door. They look like hands that were dragged across the glass. Or hands with freakishly long fingers. They seem to converge around the door's handle. We freak out and decide to go outside the house. Through the front door eventually. Bimbo's parents come home with the housekeeper's 2 somewhat young girls. Bimbo tells her parents about what we saw when we try to show them. There's no marks anymore. Parents don't make anything of it and go upstairs. One of the housekeepers says there's duendes. A sort of Mexican leprechaun. In that house they are playful and don't really do anything more than pranks. We leave like 30 minutes later. Only talk about it with them, because no one really believed us. During that time I developed sleep paralysis, which stopped like 2 years ago. Never seen anything like it ever since. Playful duendes. Still, that shit felt more menacing than anything. I'm a military vet. Not US. Seen combat trained information gatherer and scout as well, living in a somewhat forested area. Pick related is a mountain near my place. Have caught one too many tweakers use my property as a shortcut between their crack houses. Fuck that. Start doing semi-regular patrols around the property one day. Find an absolutely enormous old growth softwood tree easily 15 feet around at the base. This is fucking massive. Notice that it offers good coverage / camouflage, as well as a view of the highway that the tweakers use. Keep this in mind for future excursions. Fast forward one afternoon patrolling. It's hot as shit. When I reach the enormous tree I decide to take a break in the cool shade. Sit down at the base. Lean back, take a swig from my canteen. Close my eyes for a bit. The wind picks up. Feels cold, unseasonably cold. Open my eyes, actually shivering from the unseasonable chill. Look right and that's when I see it.
Want to share your paranormal experiences? Do you have questions, complaints, ideas for a show topic or a hate-filled rant? Send all your messages to our email for live reading on our show. Email us at atomicshamensweplodge@protonmail.com.
Like, share and subscribe to the channel, and be sure to ring the notification bell. You can follow us on Twitter at Motel and RV Park. Catch the live streams on Rumble. Listen to text-to-speech stories on Atomic Shaman TTS on YouTube.